The best salmon I ever put across my bar was the color of butter. Pale ivory, almost white. And the man I served it to sent it back without touching it, because he was certain something was wrong with it. That fish was a white king salmon, one in maybe 50 kings, born without the ability to hold pigment in its flesh, and for most of a century, fishermen threw them back or sold them for scraps, because nobody would buy a salmon that wasn't orange. Today that same fish sells for more per pound than almost anything else in the case, to people who know. Same fish, same water, same fat. The only thing that ever changed was what the customer had been taught to see. My name is Ito Tanaka. I spent 28 years behind a sushi bar, and I'm going to teach you the single most useful thing I know about buying salmon, which is this. The color means almost nothing. And once you stop looking at it, you can finally start seeing the 4 things that mean almost everything. By the end of this video, you'll be able to stand at any fish counter in America, put 2 fillets side by side, and pick the better one every single time, without asking anybody anything. Nothing to buy. Let's start with why the color fooled you in the first place, because it wasn't an accident. Here is the part of the industry I'm going to explain to you calmly, because it's not a scandal, it's just a fact that nobody stands at the counter and tells you. A wild salmon gets its color from what it eats: krill, shrimp, small crustaceans, all of them carrying a pigment called astaxanthin, and the fish stores that pigment in its muscle. That's the whole mechanism. Now, a farmed salmon eats pellets, and pellets don't have krill economics, so the astaxanthin is added to the feed directly, measured, dosed, and adjusted. And I want you to understand how precisely it's adjusted. There is a physical color fan, like the paint swatches at a hardware store, a spread of orange shades numbered from pale to deep, and the people who raise salmon literally select the number they want their fish to be, because they know which shade of orange you, the shopper, reach for. The color of the farmed fillet in your supermarket was decided before that fish was ever born. It is a specification. Which means the one signal you've been using your whole life to judge salmon is the one signal the producer controls completely. I'm not telling you this to make you angry at anybody. Astaxanthin is the same molecule the wild fish eats, and there's nothing dangerous in the case because of it. I'm telling you because a signal that can be dialed to order is not a signal, it's a costume, and you don't judge a fish by its costume. Now let me finish the job on color before I replace it, because there are 2 more ways it fools people. First, species. A sockeye is deep, dark red, almost like beef, because of what sockeye eat. A king can be rich orange or pale, or as I told you, ivory. A coho sits in the middle. A pink salmon is honestly pale and modest, and it's supposed to be. So when you stand at a counter comparing a screaming red fillet against a softer orange one, half the time you are not comparing quality. You are comparing species, and the deep red one is not fresher, not fattier, not better. It's just a different animal. Second, wild versus farmed hue is not a virtue contest either. People learn one fact, that wild sockeye is redder, and then walk around believing red equals wild equals better. And the industry knows you believe it, which is exactly why the fan exists. So here's the honest summary of what color can legitimately tell you, and it's a short list. Within the same species, on the same day, a fillet that has gone dull, flat, grayish at the edges, or is browning where the flesh meets the air, that's oxidation, and oxidation is time. Color can whisper old. It cannot say fresh. It cannot say fatty. It cannot say wild, and it can never say good. And there is exactly one place on the fillet where color testifies honestly, so learn where it is. The bloodline. That dark strip of muscle running down the center line of the fillet, the part a lot of people think is a flaw, is the hardest working muscle on the fish, and unlike the rest of the flesh, nobody dyes it, nobody doses it, nobody picked its shade from a fan. On a fresh fillet, the bloodline is a deep, clean red maroon, like the inside of a cherry. As the fish ages, that line is the first thing to turn, going dull, then brown, then a tired gray-brown like an old bruise, and it turns days before the orange flesh around it shows you anything. So the industry painted the 95% of the fillet you were looking at, and left the 5% that tells the truth sitting right in the middle, because nobody ever taught you to look at it. Now you know. The bloodline is the fillet's honest clock. Check the clock, ignore the paint. That's the entire testimony color is qualified to give. Now let's talk about the witnesses that don't lie at all. The first thing I look at, before anything else, is the white lines. Every salmon fillet has stripes of white fat running through the flesh in curves, between the muscle segments, and those lines are the biography of the fish. Read them the way you'd read marbling on beef, because that's exactly what they are. What you want is thin, even, well-distributed lines, many of them, spaced regularly, going translucent white against the flesh. That's a fish that fed well and carries its fat where it makes the meat rich and silky. What you don't want is two extremes. A fillet with almost no visible fat lines will cook up dry and taste lean and hollow. Fine if you know what you're doing with it. Disappointing if you were expecting that buttery salmon texture, because that texture is fat, not color. And on the other side, lines that are thick, wide and gappy, like the fish is more stripe than flesh, especially toward the belly edge on a cheap farmed fillet. That can mean a fish grown fast and soft. The lines also tell you where you are on the animal, closer to the belly, more fat, richer. This is the cut I'd take every time, and the one that sushi people quietly treat like treasure. Toward the tail, leaner, tighter, springier. Same fillet, two different dinners. 30 seconds of reading stripes tells you more than a lifetime of judging orange. The second thing I look at is whether the flesh is holding itself together, and there's a word for when it isn't: gaping. Look at the surface of the fillet, at the muscle flakes. On a good fish they sit flush against each other, one smooth, continuous face. On a tired fish, or a badly handled one, the flakes pull apart and the surface opens into little cracks and canyons, like dry ground. Once you've seen gaping, you cannot unsee it, and I want you to walk the whole case looking for it, because it's everywhere once you know. Gaping means the connective tissue between the muscle segments has given up, from rough handling, from temperature abuse, from age, from a fish that was in poor condition to begin with. And here's the thing that matters: it never gets better. A gaping fillet cooks up mushy and falls apart in the pan, and it slices terribly, and no marinade, no technique, no recipe on this earth repairs it. Color can be painted, gaping cannot be hidden. That's why it's on my list, and color is not. The third thing is the surface itself, the moisture, and the tray it's sitting in. A good fillet looks glossy and moist, like it was just cut, with a clean sheen that follows the light. What you're checking against is two failures. 1. A milky, cloudy, sticky-looking film sitting on the flesh. That's the beginning of spoilage, bacteria doing what bacteria do, and you'll often smell it before you see it. 2. And almost nobody checks this. Look at the liquid in the package or pooling under the fish on the ice. A fillet that's leaking, sitting in a puddle of its own cloudy drip, is a fillet losing its moisture from the inside, and that usually means one of two stories. It's been sitting cut for too long, or it was frozen and thawed carelessly, cell walls burst, and everything that was supposed to stay in the flesh is now in the tray. And let me be precise here, because you've heard me defend frozen fish before, and I meant it. Frozen is not the problem. Frozen at sea salmon, thawed slowly and properly, is often the best fish in the entire store. The puddle is the problem. The puddle is a confession about handling. Dry tray, glossy surface, flesh that looks like it still belongs to a fish. That's the standard. And if the fillet still has its skin, congratulations, you've been handed extra evidence, so use it. Skin ages honestly. On a fresh fillet, the skin is silver, metallic, almost mirror bright, with the scales lying flat and tight, like shingles on a good roof. As time passes, it goes dull and gray, the shine flattens out, and the scales start to lift and scatter, and none of that can be fed into a fish or painted onto it. I'll go further. Given the choice, buy skin on every time, even if you don't plan to eat it, because the skin is a second witness. It protects the flesh in your fridge on the ride home, and, if you've seen my videos, you know I think the crisp skin is the best free food in the store anyway. A skinless fillet isn't dishonest, but it's a fish with fewer documents, and when I'm choosing between two strangers, I take the one carrying identification. The fourth thing is firmness, and if you can touch it or ask the counterman to press it for you, do it. One finger, gentle, on the thickest part. Fresh salmon muscle springs back and erases the dent while you watch. Old or abused muscle holds the print, soft, giving, like the structure inside already resigned. This is the same test I taught you at the whole fish counter, and it works identically on fillets, and it takes 2 seconds, and it cannot be faked by any feed, any label, or any lighting. And while your nose is down there, use it. Salmon should smell like the cold part of the ocean, clean, faintly like cucumber, almost like nothing. The smell everyone calls fishy is the smell of time, and a counter that smells loud has already answered every question you came in with. One more situation, because I know where most of you actually shop. The fish isn't on ice behind glass, it's shrink-wrapped on a foam tray in a refrigerated shelf, and you can't touch it, can't smell it, and can't ask anybody anything. Good news, most of the method survives the plastic. The fat lines read perfectly through the wrap. Gaping reads through the wrap. The bloodline reads through the wrap. The drip is actually easier to check in a sealed tray. Tilt it gently and watch what slides, and check the packed on and use by dates while you're holding it. Then reach to the back of the shelf where the rotation puts the newer stock, because that's not a trick. That's just how shelves are loaded. The only two witnesses you lose behind plastic are the press and the smell. So let the tray testify in their place. If there's cloudy liquid pooling in the corner, that package already answered for them. Plastic can hide a counterman, it cannot hide a fillet. So now do what I do, because this is the whole method assembled. 2 fillets, same species, same price, side by side. Ignore the orange completely, I mean it. Pretend the case is in black and white. Read the fat lines. Thin, even, generous. Scan for gaping. The surface should be one unbroken face. Check the gloss and the tray. Shine on the fish, nothing pooling under it. Press if you can, smell if you can. 60 seconds, and one of those 2 fillets will separate itself from the other almost every time, and I promise you, it will frequently be the paler one, and the day that happens to you. The day you deliberately take the less orange fish home, and it eats better than any salmon you've bought in years, this entire video will lock into place and you'll never shop the old way again. That was the day the man at my bar had, by the way. He sent back the Ivory King. I served it to the woman 2 seats down. She asked what it was, and when I told her the story, she ordered it twice more. He watched her do it, then he asked for it back. The fish didn't change in those 10 minutes. He did. Let me say the quiet part about why this matters, beyond one dinner. Every signal I gave you today, fat, structure, moisture, spring, smell, has one thing in common. Nobody can manufacture it. Fat is fed over a lifetime. Structure is protected by careful handling or destroyed by careless handling. Moisture stays in the fish only if the cold chain never broke, and the spring in the muscle is simply the truth about time. These are expensive signals. They cost the producer real diligence, which is exactly why they're trustworthy, and exactly why nobody built a paint fan for them. Color is the one signal that costs nothing to fake, which is precisely why it's the one they taught you to look at. You weren't taught to shop badly, you were taught to shop with one eye, and it was the wrong eye. Open the other one and the entire fish counter reorganizes itself in front of you. Some of the proudest, brightest fillets in the case quietly drop to the bottom of your list, and some modest, honest, pale orange fish you've walked past 100 times turn out to be the best thing in the store. Same counter, same prices, different eyes. 10 minutes of knowing what to look at is worth more than $20 a pound of knowing what to look for, and after today, both of those are yours. Here's everything in one breath. Color is a costume, chosen from a fan, different by species, and it can only ever whisper old, never say good. The bloodline is the honest clock. Cherry red yes, brown no. Read the white fat lines. Thin, even, many. Reject, gaping. The surface must be one unbroken face. Demand gloss and a dry tray. The moisture belongs inside the fish. Take the skin on fillet. Silver and tight, a second witness. Press for the spring, smell for the clean, cold ocean. 60 seconds, 2 fillets, 1 winner, every time. Tell me in the comments what the salmon looks like at your store this week, and whether the brightest fillet in the case passed the stripe test or failed it, because I have a suspicion about American supermarket salmon, and your answers will tell me if I'm right. And if somebody older than you taught you a way to judge a fish that I didn't mention today, write it down there.